I'm going to be really optimistic that you're on. So the weird thing for me is it shows that there aren't any viewers, which I don't know why. I'm really optimistic that you're on. The thing for me is it shows that there aren't any viewers, which I don't know why. Echoing. Echoing. Hear me? Hear me? Awesome. Well, I'm going to start. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. Okay, I have a little bit more idea than I did a half an hour ago. So that's the good news. And I'm going to learn a lot more in this process. So thanks for being with me. Thanks for giving up this time. It's probably not quite the high energy message you wanted, but don't I give you hope that you can just full steam ahead? So here's what I know about Google Hangouts on Air is that once you go live to record, you can't stop and start it because it is all there is. So I'll delete the previous event. This one will be new. I'll put that link out there and we'll get things squared away. Now on here, I can see that I have multiple viewers. Before it never showed me that I had any viewers. So, all right, well, we'll just jump in because this is supposed to give you energy and lift you up and take you to a great place. And I got my hair back in a ponytail because that means business. And that's one thing that I'm going to talk a little bit about is just getting your energy right to be high energy in a lot of different situations. I want to give you a couple quick reminders before we go into that, and that'll be all we'll talk about in terms of like Mary Kay business type of stuff. So I'm just hoping that this works and that going forward, especially into September, that we're going to have a really great tool to use as a unit. So I think if you're listening to the sound of my voice, you've probably heard a few times through text messaging, email, Facebook that the preferred customer program enrollment ends tonight. So even if yours is done, maybe shoot a text out to some of your team members that normally take care of it so that they get it done as well. I think of it as the Christmas catalog that I used to anticipate getting as a child. It's a fun thing to get, and it's that extra one that they're going to get for the holidays. The second thing is the fall retreat deadline is approaching. My hope and prayer is that we'll have a really good number knowing who's going by the 1st of September because the money has to be in the Madison office hands of Rita Clace by the 12th of September. So that means getting me the check, me depositing it, turning around if I don't already have it, and getting it back to Lisa's office. The other quick things that I'm going to share with you are going forward into September. Next Monday is Labor Day, so I hope you have plans to enjoy it with family or friends or relaxing. So there will not be any type of virtual or in-person event on Monday. It will be there on Wednesday instead. And Wednesday is going to be a Facebook event, and it is honestly going to be tens, 20s, maybe not 100, but so many ways to find new contacts. Some will be simple, some will be a little bit more multi-step, but it's going to be all kinds of ways to flood that contact list. And the other things that are going to start with that call next Thursday, the 7th at 7 o'clock, is a little bit of recognition for activity in the month of August and for the previous week. So getting your weekly accomplishment sheets to me is where that is absolutely going to come from. And we're going to do some fun kind of prizes and giveaways going forward too. So being on those events is going to be, just for being on, is going to be a really great investment of your time. And last but not least, if you're looking for a win for the week, I have to take an opportunity to just give you one little thing to think about, which is How many appointments do you want to have on your books for September? How many appointments? I always feel like 10 is a great number. You will never ever hold 100% of what you book. So having those few extras are going to be really important, so that when things slide around or don't happen quite as anticipated, you're still seeing a lot of faces in September. So book 10 to hold 6 is a really great thought in your head. All right, so moving forward, we're going to talk about how to have high energy. How to have high energy is so important, because in the quantum world that we live in, you can have time or you can have energy. But if you don't have both at the same time, you probably won't find yourself moving forward. So you often cannot make more time, but I'm going to give you tips on how to make more energy for yourself. So this is a lesson that I've signed up for many, many, many times in the last 20 years. Many. And I'm going to take you back to 2003, which is probably the very first time that I had this thought, and I started to move myself in a different direction. My business had grown to over 100 unit members, and I recognized that most days I woke up thinking, when can I take a nap? I used a lot of Diet Coke and things like that to get through the day. And I knew that I was being limited by the energy I had available for my business. And so at that point, I made some shifts and I went a different direction. Now I will tell you that just a year ago, there was a lot of things happening in my world. Perhaps you could call it overcommitments in some areas or closing some doors on some things. And again, I kind of came to a point where I was like, oh yeah, I got to take great care of myself, because that is something I can't replace and I can't duplicate. So that's really what I want to get to, is having an awesome quality of life, a strong business, and a lot of things that can support you so that you can take really good care of yourself. Low energy show up. Now, if you find that where you're at right now is working for you and you feel like you are accomplishing, are giving the quality, are in a great place, we always say if something isn't broken, you don't need to fix it. But here were some of the things that came through to me in terms of really having high energy. I found myself sleepwalking through skincare classes, like poor results, going through the motions, really wanting to be home in comfy clothes, relaxing, eating, not talking to anyone. So I went through all the time and effort to get to that appointment, to that income producing activity, and then I didn't have the energy to really support it and bring my very best self. Other ways that low energy showed up for me was falling asleep at family functions or on bill date night. Now, sometimes it was maybe okay for the moment. We all have a little post-Thanksgiving snooze, but I literally became known as the person who could not stay awake through different family functions. And I could sleep anywhere, and I often got my picture taken in that moment. So that was not really how I wanted to represent myself to the people that were super important to me, falling asleep. I also found that sometimes I would get immediately triggered into anger or sadness at something that probably didn't really warrant the emotional response that I gave, but I didn't have good self-care going on. I was tired or I was hungry, and so I wasn't responding well to the situation, and I kind of overcompensated emotionally. So that didn't work for me. Lack of clarity, like spinning around. What am I doing? What should I do next? What's the best use of my time? Like just not having real clear focus in what I wanted to accomplish and how to accomplish it, and then taking that action. And then there's just the physical, like when all of those things do not penetrate and help you wake up to different action. Physically, your body sends really strong signals, I personally have had one migraine when I was pregnant with Hannah in my first trimester, and that was probably the extent of ever having a migraine. But I do know there are people that have migraines. For me, a lot of it came through my stomach and intestines, which is not ideal when you are living in your car a lot of times. But sometimes it, for me, shows up in like kind of cramping back pain, like, oh my gosh, like I've not gotten enough sleep. So there's this spot in my back that just tenses up, and it really only relaxes when I slow down and take care of myself in terms of sleep. So ask yourself, where could that energy deficiency, energy deficit be showing up for you in your life? And I'm guessing you tuned into this call because you feel like there might be something there for you to look at. All right, so I started that journey in 2003 and I just knew something needed to be different. And it is always a journey because we change, our circumstances change, who's in our household changes. Like no kids at home, so different than 10 years ago. 10 years ago, the kids were 10, 12, and 15. Such a different era for us. So it starts out as a journey and it's one step, one step, one step moving forward. This business is high energy, and I think to continue to grow a business, having energy is crucial because we help people be their very best. We compliment people, we shine our light on people, and we have to have a light to shine to be able to do that. So I'm going to also just give you this statement, which I read in a book, and I was just like, it stuck with me, and I can't even think of the book right this moment, but it said that the degree to which you can love and care for yourself is the degree to which you can love and care for others. And in that moment, reading that, so I'm passing it on to you, it really lifted a lot of the guilt and a lot of the deserve and a lot of the, is this a priority, from my brain. So I always like to channel, because he's one of my favorite artists, Justin Bieber, love yourself. Perhaps the lyrics aren't meaning quite the same thing, but when you love yourself, you are better equipped to love other people. And so I want you to have a new thought that maybe moves away from sacrifice and deserve and martyr and giving to everyone else and yourself last, and flipping that. Because then when you can take care of really good care of yourself, you can give to other people at an even higher level. And I feel like for many of us, that's so important, whether it's our customers, our children, our husband, our community, our church. It's so important to be able to give to other people in different ways. So my first 2 tips in this list, and I don't know that I numbered these well, so don't necessarily follow along that way, is to trust yourself. Right in this moment, how is your energy level? Now I know it's a little bit later in the evening, so it may be lower for that reason, but how is your energy level on a daily average basis? Would you say that you're a 10, like I can conquer the world, I can get it done, I feel great? Or is it 1, and 1 is like I can barely get off the couch? So, you know, kind of take a temperature reading of yourself and then listen to your body, because your body will tell you when things are going in the right direction and when they maybe need some self-care. So when it comes to high energy, each of us is different and unique and special and wired to be uniquely you. So there is no prescription for high energy that will apply to actually every single one of us. It will be different based on who we are inside, how we grew up, the environment we're in right now. But I want you to just take a moment and ask yourself this question. In the perfect world, what are the 5 places that immediately come to mind that I get energy from? What are the 5 that come to mind immediately? Now, this probably shouldn't take more than like 30 seconds to ponder. And there's some that are really obvious. Like I will tell you that for me, sleep was in this top 5. And sometimes we don't think of that, but sleep is a place we get our energy. So what others, 5, 4, what are the top 5 that come to mind for you that give you energy? I'm gonna look at my notes while you think of that. Okay, what things are coming to mind? And I'll just tell you my 5, not because they are going to be your 5. They probably won't be. There might be 1 or 2 that overlap. There might not be any. We might be on, so there's no right or wrong. So please, please know that, because as I listen to other people and as I experience more people, I just know that for some people, one thing is going to be energy giving, and for another, it's not going to be at all. So for me, my first one was sleep. My second was good nutrition and supplements. I kind of put those into one. Number 3 was exercise. Number 4, I get energy from crossing things off my list. So yes, sometimes I put them on the list to cross them off the list. No, not quite so much anymore, but completing a task. really energizes me. There's different points that I get excited, like starting is good, the middle is hard, ending is high for me. And my fifth one is I love, 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 love to kick around alone in my house. I might do some work. I might do some straightening up. I might do, just reorganizing things. I love being home alone. Now, the thing you may not know about me, depending on how well you know me, is that on the Myers-Briggs scale, I am an introvert. More, with probably some joy and extrovert as well. But to really fill my cup up, for me, being alone is super important. And it's not good or bad. The extroverts of the world, and our national sales director, Lisa Madsen, is an extrovert. She can go and go and go. I mean, when we go to an event, it is full of one opportunity to be with other consultants after another, because that's what brings her energy. So there's a continuum from really, really introverted, really, really extroverted, and then kind of the range in between. So ask yourself, introvert, extrovert, what tends to work best for me? Some other things, and these weren't in my top 5 necessarily in this moment, but they may give you energy as well. I love to read, so I love to learn. I love to, you'll think this is a little weird, but I love to plan. So I love to be able to see things pop up on my calendar and map out a really good plan. Like for me, brings me joy, gives me energy. Being with my friends who give me energy. We'll talk a little bit about that. I like rewards. I have a pedicure plan for myself for this week. And music. Now, music isn't something that you'll probably see around me a lot, but I do find that I need music to work out to keep my energy high in that space. So I know that energy works in different places for me, and it may work in different places for you, and music might be one of those things as well. So what are some other things that come to mind? I'm just going to check my phone because I feel text messaging is happening here. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Oh, maybe it's in order. Okay. So back to you. Just making sure we're all good with the Google Hangout. This is going to be epic, you guys, because new technology, when it works, when I own it, ooh, that is energizing too. Okay. Other things that might give you energy would be opportunities for travel, vacations, things like the fall retreat, because they remove you from your normal demands of every day and put you in an environment with other positive people and time to reflect and time to grow and learn new things. So that might be a place as well. So vacations. That for me was kind of the list that I came up with. And so I want to invite you to make a list of what gives you energy. And in looking at your week, using your weekly plan sheet, using your Google Calendar, using your Mary Kay Datebook, choose a color that you really love and look for places to refill your cup. One thing I love to do is with my girlfriends who give me energy, I love to work out with them. And so if I can make those two things happen, it's like win, 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 win all the way around. And so I can see those appointments for those types of things. I can see where I've given myself the time for sleep. Like I know that between 7 and 8 hours of sleep for me is golden. There might be a day that maybe it's a little bit closer to 9, but if it dips too much below like 6.5, I know I won't be as sharp. And so I always look at what time am I needing to get up? What time do I need to go to bed? Because you can find, I do find that after a certain point, my effectiveness goes down anyway. So if I'm staying up later and later and later trying to get more done, I'm probably not accomplishing nearly as much as I would. And I'm putting those things into a to-do list for a different time. So look at a week, and I invite you to take your favorite color. So I told myself I'm going to do purple and call that self-care. And it is okay in my book, as you look at your week, if you see things that don't support the things that bring you joy and move you closer to your goal and don't that are required for survival, to push them off, to eliminate them, to take care of yourself. There have been many times in these last couple of years where I've seen where I've had, like, I'll just use this as an example, like one customer drop off show new lipsticks, 15 minutes, that's an hour's worth of drive for me to do. And I have nothing else around that. And I'll reschedule it because it isn't a good use of my time or my energy to leave my house and get cute for a 15-minute appointment. Now, if I can turn that into something more and I've got 3 or 4 things with it, great. But if not, then I just know that it's okay. There'll be another time if that person is meant to be in my life. And taking care of myself and honoring that does not mean I'm losing that opportunity. It means I'm holding myself to a higher value than what potentially looks like a $40 reorder and, hours of travel time. So look for that balance and harmony by looking at how much time are you giving to yourself in that self-care, filling your cup, creating high energy each week in your weekly plan sheet. Now it'll be a growth area because for me, here was what was the absolute hardest thing to do. I'll use this as an example. So let's say that I was gift certificate massage, or I made an appointment to make a massage. And as I'm laying would be the right term, laying on the table, enjoying that experience, in the back of my head, I'm thinking of all the other things I need to do. Or if this is really the best use of my time, or if this is really the best use of my money. And I'm in the moment questioning whether I should be doing that. So you know what? It's something that is often a voice in our head, or for me, it was a belief that the more I did, the more effective I would be. And sometimes you have to slow down to speed up and to know that in that moment, taking really good care of yourself feels good. First of all, like a massage feels good. And secondly, it sets me up to be that much better, that much more effective in the future at things. So listen for, those little voices that maybe just are someone else's voices in your head. I grew up on a dairy farm and my dad was not at all abusive or disrespectful, but he never rested. He was always going, always something. I mean, just high energy, like being lazy was perhaps the worst sin of all that could happen. And there was sort of this like undercurrent that if you even slowed down for a little bit, you were going to get that kind of label put on yourself. And so I hear that in my head when I know that taking good care of myself, and you know what, your body and your mind are your most precious commodity, right? You can't do too much without either of those. So ask yourself, is there like a deserve level? Because I feel like that's kind of what was in that, and some guilt that was taking away the joy from the experience of refilling the cup in some of those areas. And they're not true. It's not true. I can absolutely say that taking time off is so effective to being your very best. Okay, so my last couple thoughts. I'm pretty close to being wrapped up. And in this experience, what's different is I can't see all of you. So I wish I could a little bit more. But I just want to leave you with some questions so that you can ponder kind of this topic. And that is, again, going back to what gives me energy? And maybe conversely, like what takes energy away from me? Being aware of that. For me, one thing that really takes energy away from me is inefficiency. So things that are like waste of time, those hurt my head. So I feel lower energy, or people that complain, or people that make a lot of excuses. Those things I've had to just like kind of sort out and remove myself from, because I had to protect my energy. So what beliefs do you have around great self-care? Whose voices or voice do you hear in your head that might be a trigger that stops you from loving yourself at the level that you could, the highest level that you could? Is that voice and are those beliefs serving you? And that's the thing that kind of comes back around. Someone will, that'll come up in my head and I'll say, how's that working for you, Alice? And I have to answer with, probably not the best if going the whole day and not eating because I've scheduled myself so tightly puts me into pretty much a low blood sugar coma and takes 2 or 3 days to come out of. So probably not the best. And who is going to know better than you than anyone else how best to take care of you and refill your cup. So those are some thoughts behind having high energy. And I so appreciate that you watched this, listened to it, tuned in. And each month we're going to have a topic. So next month, the kind of the off topic in terms of Mary Kay Business is going to be how to meal prep, how to plan meals, how to get in your kitchen, how to have high energy from nutrition, and not want to eat the hors d'oeuvres at your skincare parties because you didn't have time to eat or forgot to eat or didn't have something packed before you launched for the day. So that's going to be one of our next topics that I feel really, really passionately about. So now I'm going to end this because I think it'll create a link, which will be a recording, and I'm going to delete the previous one. And if you have any feedback or anything you want to ask, I feel like I don't know how to do that yet, so you may want to individually box me. But thank you for being on, and have a fabulous rest of your night.